We're coming, and we ain't backing down.
We don't need a bunch of cats in here looking in the mirror.
Everybody just do your job. You understand that?
Hey, will you shut up?
I'm bitterly disappointed with the officiating today.
Guys being dudes.
And they run through our like through a tin horn, man.
Marcus Jones to the 25, to the 30, breaks outside to the 35. Marcus Jones at midfield. Marcus Jones is going to take it to the house. Touchdown, Houston. Yes. Wow, with 17 seconds left in the game, Marcus Jones takes it 100 yards for the touchdown. Wow.
Alex, that was truly unbelievable. That was Kevin Eschenfelder from the Houston Radio Network from our friends at Learfield. You can hear that and a lot more on the Varsity Network app, available wherever you get your apps. I really hope you watched that one live. I did. It was literally the game of the day, in my opinion. Alex, I think we should put 30 minutes on the clock and talk about that and many, many others, starting in 3, 2, 1. Houston 44, SMU 37.
Yeah, I think it was the game of the year, like you said. We were looking forward to this one, not just because of the inherent stakes with it. The winner, and that winds up being Houston, is going to get Cincinnati in the AAC championship game. That seems pretty clear. But also because these teams play a very pleasing style of football. Tackling is, encouraged, but not necessarily required here. Both teams
tackling.
have really...
No tackling, just vibes here.
They love throwing these like downfield haymaking passes that I think are very visually pleasing to watch. And in this game, the special teams were special.
Which was your favorite kick return for a touchdown, the first or the second?
It's arguable that SMU's kickoff return for the touchdown, they were both 100 yards, was actually like even a little more aesthetically pleasing.
He was like 5 yards deep.
The SMU
one.
They were both just like gorgeous kickoff return touchdowns. We don't see a lot of those. I think there were like 8 or 9 in college football on just in FBS on Saturday, which feels like a lot, feels unusual while I was trolling around for him. But yeah, this was a blast. I think that also it's really significant for Houston because you brought Dana Holgerson in and paid him to be in charge of what should be a premier Group of 5 program. I don't think right now that anyone would argue that Houston is the premier Group of 5 program, but you're going to get a shot at that mantle now when you play Cincinnati in the conference championship game in 4 or 5 weeks' time. And, I understand that designation, be the best of the G5, is only going to matter for so much longer for Houston, given where they're going in the Big 12. But this is a big deal. This is what they were supposed to do. It looked for 2 years like it was not really going in a good direction, and they have righted that considerably after, a rough hiccup versus Texas Tech in week 1.
A reminder that Sam Schwartzstein and our friends at the XFL solved the kickoff forever. Look it up. Michigan State 37, Michigan 33. How about it from Sparty? Okay, I think if you play this game 10 times, I don't know if Michigan State wins.
No.
The bulk of them, that's fine. Kenneth Walker III, that is a special football player. There's not a lot of times that I will tell you that the running back deserves the lion's share of 197 yards on the ground on 23 carries. But this guy was making chicken salad out of chicken shit all day. Mm-hmm. Very, very fun football player.
This is a second-level runner. Like Michigan's safeties in this game, there were on the winning touchdown run, this was an example, and there were 1 or 2 of his other 5 touchdown runs, because remember, there were 5 touchdown runs by him, where he could have been tackled not only at the line, but at the second level.
Not could have, should have.
And just was not, because he was just better than the Michigan individuals trying to tackle him. He's an incredible player, and one of the most impactful transfers that college football has seen via Wake Forest, by the way, also undefeated.
Very funny that he came from Wake because the running style is unorthodox. It's just very funny to me that he came from that school where they, we talked about on the midweek show about how weird that offense is at Wake.
Yeah, from a Michigan perspective here, this is tough. This will be no sympathy because Michigan fans, you have heard this a million times. Jim Harbaugh has never actually won the big games that he is supposed to win there. He wins just about everything else. Cade McNamara showed a ton in this game. I would say more than just about any time all season. J.J. McCarthy did some stuff in relief in spots. They picked off Peyton Thorne a couple of times in this game. They had 3 really good punt returns from A.J. Henning. They had a good field position situation. And they just lost to Kenneth Walker. That's just what happened. It's tough. I mean, I don't know what to say because I think that this is the best Michigan team maybe since like 2016, but you have to win the games. And I do think they're more talented than Michigan State, but they didn't win the game. So there we are. I think the thing that I was most wrong about in this game, and by the way, I think we did succeed on the Peyton Thorne under in our prize picks play, was that I figured that Michigan was going to give Peyton Thorne a rough ride, and they did. What I don't think either of us figured was that they could just run their way to victory in this game.
Yeah, it did not.
Despite getting very little from the pass game. They did.
Also, speaking of the pass game, how about those Michigan Wolverines through the air, which is not how I thought that was going to happen. Feather in the cap, something to keep in mind later down the road. Michigan found a lot of joy throwing in-breakers right in front of Michigan State's very aggressive safety rotation. Those are layered throws. Those are throws that have to be in the middle of the field on time. Those are hard for a lot of college quarterbacks to do. Doubly hard for Caden McNamara, who I didn't really think was that good, but all right. Played really well yesterday. The 94-yard touchdown was that. The touchdown to go up 30-14 was that as well. Safety rotates hard to the trip's passing strength. In-breaker comes in front of him, essentially going the opposite direction of where the safety is flowing towards. Pay attention to that in a couple weeks with what's coming in Scarlet and Gray, because C.J. Stroud is actually really good at those layered throws over a linebacker before safety. Pay attention. But it's fun. Michigan State is fun. They are as aggressive as we thought they'd be. And it's very funny because the de facto, game-winning play here, which was the 4th down that Michigan was unable to convert, they ran a pick play on Michigan State, and Michigan State's DBs collided with each other, but also just enough with the intended receiver that it knocked him off course and the ball went incomplete.
Michigan State's on a bit of a magic carpet ride here. Those do not always last forever, but that's not the point. It's one of the great turnaround jobs in college football, no matter what happens from here for Mel Tucker and that program. Ohio State 33, Penn State 24. Oh, Richard, basically the same game these teams have played every year since 2017, the year after the Penn State upset in Happy Valley.
Yeah, Penn State honestly threw the kitchen sink at him, I thought, on offense. Mike Yurcich was drawing up the ball plays. I mean, giving them everything they wanted. Travion Henderson for Ohio State, running back that a lot of people are excited about. I thought Kenneth Walker had a slightly better day, given what his offensive line either did.
Oh, he definitely had a better day.
Give him, comparatively, but Travion Henderson, very good. Chris Olave had a milk carton game. I don't know where the hell he was. But to me, the story is Penn State's struggles on the offensive line. It's not that they struggled to pick things up. Sean Clifford was honestly out there directing protections, resetting protections late in the play clock, had his offensive line going where they needed to go, but they struggled a lot with stunts, particularly in the left side of Penn State's offensive line, I thought. Talk a lot about a lot of Ohio State changes on defense, buddy. They're still just rocking and rolling and putting one safety back there, all right? It's in the walls. They're not a quarters team overnight.
No, and when you have Tyreek Smith and Zachary Harrison and Jaron Cage, who had a 50-ish yard fumble return, big man Piesman touchdown, you have players, you can do that. You don't need to have a bunch of guys standing back in center field. The thing that this game reminded me of for Ohio State is that sometimes, Richard, it just really helps to have better players than the other team.
Yeah, yes, it does. I can tell you from personal experience yesterday, it doesn't hurt.
We saw this in their season opener against Minnesota, too, where they were really out of sorts for a while, and they were trailing in the second half of that game. But then they hit 4 or 5 long touchdowns, 40-plus yard touchdowns in this game. Travion Henderson had the worst game of his career here. He was bottled up for most of the night. His rushes in this game, though, I will read them, and you see if you notice the outliers. 1, -4. 2, -1. 4, 2, 4, -1, -1. 6, 5, 3, -1, 1. 68, 2. 1 yard touchdown. 3, 3, 5, 3, 1, 4, 6, 22, 12.
That iced the
0.
game, by the way.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great for the most part, but that's how you wind up with 28 for 152, even on a night when you are bottled up on 90% of your runs. You just can't stop a guy like that behind a line like that for that long.
I did think
Penn State.
I thought Penn State's defense actually played pretty well, all things
considered. They absolutely played pretty well, but it's just some things are inevitable, and Travion Henderson getting his is one of those things that's inevitable. You're just not going to do a lot about it.
Speaking of inevitable, Wisconsin 27, Iowa 7. There were multiple times in this game when Iowa had like negative total yards.
Yeah, not great. They probably need a change at offensive coordinator. And I'm not sure if Kirk Ferentz is going to do that, given that he hired his child to be the offensive coordinator of that team. The total here closed at 36 points. And yes, folks.
So I had it both sides. I'm a man of contrast. In the bet article that I wrote for Sports Illustrated, I had it under 37 because of the key number, but I had it a ticket in hand over 36. We had an opportunity here to push the 37 and go over the 36. We didn't get it done on a drop on fourth down that looked like it could have housed for a garbage time late touchdown. We're not happy about that.
You're now looking at Wisconsin probably going to the Big Ten championship. The Iowa thing has really de-escalated rapidly. I think we were misled there. Wisconsin got, I think, 100 passing yards on 21 throws from Graham Mertz. They still are going to need a transfer quarterback next year, again, from Paul Chryst, if they're going to do a lot. But the defense is the best in the country outside Athens, Georgia. And at this point, that's hard to dispute. That's almost approaching fact. So good for Wisconsin for being so good defensively that they can overcome whatever it is they do on offense.
Purdue 28, Nebraska 23.
Oh,
I just, they're not going to make a bowl game.
No, it's almost impossible. I mean, it's not impossible. I mean, you could win 3 games in a row, but it is highly unlikely that Nebraska is going to make a bowl game. And we're going to look back at the high point of the Scott Frost tenure as a couple of weeks when we were saying on our podcast that we thought they might be good, even though they'd lost to Illinois. And that's not a good place to be. I think Nebraska fans deserve a considerably better product than they are getting. Quickly in this league, Minnesota beat the hell out of Northwestern 41-14. I kind of think Minnesota might be pretty solid. All I'm saying.
Northwestern sucks.
Yeah, but they have a plan and they execute it, the Gophers do, which is pound it into the line 50 times and then throw some rainbows over some people's heads and hope that it works. It's very pleasing to a guy like me who doesn't need, too much variability in scheme. I like something simple.
Real meat and potatoes guy.
Maryland and Rutgers beat Indiana and Illinois, respectively, which the only reason I bring that up on this whip around is that the bottom of the Big Ten may be coming up a little bit. On the other hand, Maryland probably shouldn't have only won by 3 against Indiana's third-string quarterback. So, anyway. In the ACC, oh, man, this one's on here. Miami 38, Pitt 34.
That's tough. That's a tough one. You want to talk about creative ways to lose. Holy cow. Okay, you go through it because it was something.
Yeah, so we'll just skip to the end. They were down 4. Pitt had a pretty likely looking safety of Miami in the end zone after Kenny Pickett had thrown an interception.
We're way too precious with how we call safeties.
Yeah, we are way too precious. I mean, this Miami running back was pretty clearly wrapped up in the end zone, and I do not think got all the way out. But Miami was, gifted a second life, which is fine. It happens. The ACC not protecting its legacy programs like Pitt in this case. And Miami got a couple more first downs. The second one that iced the game was after they got the yardage. The tight end, Will Mallory, fumbled it back behind the sticks or so, we thought, to bring up a fourth down, but it turned out that it bounced out of bounds, right on the marker.
Miami physically could not have gotten closer to not converting this fourth down.
No, you needed him to fumble it a couple inches more forcefully. Kenny Pickett had 10 passes of 20-plus yards in this game, threw for 23 first downs, and lost. So that's fun. Notre Dame 44, North Carolina 34. 44-34. Gee, this is a tongue twister. Richard, you're believing in Notre Dame?
If you left him for dead, it may be time to re-interface. It was always going to be a reload year for Notre Dame, but they really are coming on the last few weeks. By the way, it is an affront to decency that Jack Cohn ran for a touchdown in the way that he did. All right, a civil society cannot let that happen. We got to be better than that.
Are you believing a little bit that Notre Dame's offensive line, much maligned, is on the up and up here?
Yeah, I think so. Not what they were last year. Not what they've been the last few years, but that's okay. The Kyron Williams 95-yard touchdown was like half Kyron Williams insane stiff arm and like the other part like football folly shit from North Carolina's defense, and also Michael Mayer downfield. A lot going on that run. Okay, nice Notre Dame. Virginia Tech 26, Georgia Tech 17. Okay, Jeff Collins, not awesome.
Yeah, the proof of conceptometer is being dialed back yet again.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep doing that.
Rolling that back.
It's also not really exciting from a Justin Fuente perspective either. It's one of those that I don't think anyone leaves feeling good about themselves for any reason. Speaking of, Clemson 30, Florida State 20. Take it away, Richard, on perhaps the most painful beat in history for anyone who had either the over 47.5, or the under 47.5, or Florida State as a 9.5 point underdog.
I had food in my mouth at the time when it was happening. It was a lateral play at the end that FSU was trying to run to, they were way away from the end zone, trying to run as time expired.
They were not close.
Bunch of laterals, and Clemson falls on it and gets it into the end zone to cover 9.5 and to hit the over. I didn't realize it hit the over, but it was brutal.
And it's worse than you think if you were a Florida State backer because they missed a PAT in this game.
Brutal.
Worse than you think. Betting on sports is a psychological experiment, and you are the subject. Wake Forest 45, Duke 7. Cut. Also,
this is going to happen to a lot of teams that play Wake. It has happened to a lot of teams that play Wake Forest, but I mean,
but 7 points is 7 points. Like Wake's going to score, but 7 points is 7 points, and they were being shut out for most of the game. I want to be clear about this because we've made this kind of a bit, and I want to be sensitive here, and I also want to guard against something that is wrong, which is to just be blindly ageist about a coach who's had a great career.
We will be ageist about Stephen Godfrey, though. Only Stephen
Godfrey. The on-field product here is just going in a pretty clearly awful direction. 2017, 46th in SP+. 2018, 51st. 2019, 68th. 2020, 104th. We've talked about how we think 2020 was kind of a weird year. 2021, they were 85th entering this week, and that will go down whenever Bill Connolly updates those numbers, I'm sure. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? This is Duke does not need to be this bad. I mean, this is the softest division that you can possibly have, and they've just kind of missed out on the boat because of how they have gone in the wrong direction. He's had an incredible run. I do not think that he is going to write Duke football back to the kind of plucky, overachieving its talent team that he did make it into, 4 or 5 years ago. NC State 28, Louisville 13.
The ACC Atlantic Championship game is on November 13th, Wake versus NC State. You may look at Wake's schedule and say, oh, Richard, Wake plays North Carolina next week. Yeah, that's a non-conference game. Look it up. BYU 66, Virginia 49. For 3 quarters, this
the Bronco Menden Bowl.
For 3 quarters, this was the game of the day. BYU went up 21-0, and UVA stormed back. They ripped off, I think it was 6 touchdowns in a row. This went to halftime as a final score in the 40s, I believe. I then went to bed. I made my bet, and that bet paid off when I woke up and realized UVA had lost by 17 points.
UVA is one of the funniest chaos teams in college football right now. What happened here?
Yeah, they're fun on offense. They're really
they're
fun.
Tons of fun.
They're
and
very
they can't
fun
play defense at all. They don't feel like a very Bronco Mendenhall outfit to me.
Very fun on offense. Very fun in the quarterback run game. Odd. BYU established it 29 for 266 for Tyler Allgeier. That is how you get the job done, friend.
It was quite a day. Syracuse 21, Boston College 6. Syracuse has a reasonable chance to make a bowl game. Just saying.
Sean Tucker's really fun. Ran for 200 yards. It was neat.
He's pretty serious. In the Southeastern Conference, Richard.
Much less neat.
Georgia 34, Florida 7. Your lads were in it for a minute.
Yeah, I thought it was going to go to halftime as a game, and then things blew up. I mean, Talent gap, baby.
The middle 8 was not good to Florida.
Well, they got the shit kicked out of them in the first 4.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, yes. Over
yeah.
over the middle 8 total. But like in a span of like 6 actual plays, this game went from pretty close, potentially sphincter clinching for Georgia to blowout, shit kicked. The second half of the game is garbage time. I mean, you can look up the talent gap things on both sides, the quotes that both coaches had. I think it's pretty telling on both sides.
Some people who listened to the midweek show last week heard us talk about a charity drive that we sort of put together on the fly for autistic people. We clipped that from the end of the show because, as some listeners pointed out, we did not do proper diligence or planning for that drive. We are doing it, and we will share more with you on the midweek show this week, in case anyone was wondering.
Georgia had 300-something yards. So
they wound up in the 300s, yeah.
A lot of money is going to someplace. We'll update you on the midweek.
Yep. Auburn 31, Ole Miss 20. What got into Auburn's defense in this game?
Well, part of it was Matt Corral was literally on one leg. I mean, I shudder to think what that man's lower body feels like today.
Bo Nix, good.
Yeah, good Bo. Good Bo.
Yeah. Auburn has just been different this year. They are less chaotic than they usually are. I think that Brian Harsin has injected a lot of boringness into this
they're
team.
Less fun is what they are.
Yeah. No, I'm interested to see if he can kind of keep threading that needle between what Auburn usually is and what appears to be a very competent Auburn right now. It's been a fascinating couple of weeks there. Mississippi State 31, Kentucky 17. Man, Mississippi State, I don't really like it because Mike Leach at this point, I'm kind of over the whole experience, but what he is selling is working. It's just working.
Kentucky turned the ball over 4 times. Kentucky cannot turn the ball over 4 times. Missouri 37, Vanderbilt 28. Vanderbilt is the worst team in this conference, but Missouri should be giving them a run for their money for that distinction.
Yeah, I'm just putting this into the abyss. Is Vanderbilt going to finish ahead of these guys sometime in the Clark Lee, Eli Drinkwitz tenures?
I mean, we'll see how long the Eli Drinkwitz tenure lasts.
The difference in this game was quite simply that Mizzou has Tyler Beatty and Vanderbilt does not. That was it. If you put him on the other team, I think you got a Vanderbilt victory here. That's all I'm saying.
What a statement.
In the Big 12, Baylor 31, Texas 24. Had it and lost it, Texas. They were up 21-10 midway through the third quarter. Offense ceased to function at that point. Abram Smith touchdown run from 32 yards out was gorgeous. Gorgeous touchdown run. One of the individual efforts of the day, really, that ends with him sneaking inside the right pylon was kind of the this is happening play. Great for Baylor. They're 7-1.
Dave Aranda and company said, Bijan Robinson, you're not going to run on us, and he didn't. I think it was 17 for 47. I mean, they bottled him up all day. Did not have many runs that were greater than like 3 yards. Aggressive, impressive linebacker play from both of Baylor's linebackers. Good to see.
Very much so. West Virginia got one here, 38-31 over Iowa State. Bit of an escape, but it counts.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Campbell was throwing a temper tantrum on the field. Meanwhile, 10 seconds were running off the clock, and his team needed a play.
Yeah, I think Iowa State got a bit of a rough ride from the officiating here, but they made it worse on themselves after that. The drama was that Brock Purdy scrambles on a 3rd and 14, was ruled to come up just short and inbounds. I think he probably did get the first down inbounds, and the clock should have stopped while they moved the sticks. Matt Campbell was upset. They were disjointed. The clock kept moving. They took a false start with a runoff after that, and it became a Hail Mary, and that was it. Breece Hall had also fumbled at the goal line, trying to tie this game earlier. Just a rough year for Iowa State. Like, their 3 losses to Iowa, Baylor, and WVU have all been in different ways, kind of ticky-tack bullshit, but they count, and so they have 3 losses.
Oklahoma 52, Texas Tech 21. 402 passing yards from the guy who runs QB duo and dreams up impromptu mesh points after the snap. Interesting. Kansas State 31, TCU 12. It's not great in Fort Worth.
Nope. And I'm not sure who the person is who's supposed to tell Gary Patterson that this is not working out. I'm not sure if that person exists, but for TCU's sake, probably should. Oregon 52, Colorado 29. Oregon's defense probably left some things to be desired here. They had at least one coverage bust that I saw that led to a walk-in Colorado touchdown on, I think, their second TD of this game. but it doesn't have to matter, you know?
Yeah. All right. Washington State 34, Arizona State 21. Washington State, those guys fight. They have, to their credit, with everything going on, they have fought this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm happy for Jake Dickert, their interim coach, and all of their players who were put through the entire Nick Rolovich saga through no choice of their own, rooting for them to have a strong finish to the season. I think that would be a nice thing to see in college football. Utah 44, UCLA 24. Bruins.
We're venturing into what are we doing here with Chip Kelly.
Yeah, this isn't your typical Utah team that you would feel better about having this done to you by.
No,
no. I think that they are not that special defensively. Some of this is residuals from what BYU and San Diego State did to them early in the year. They've been better since then, but they're still not, I think, at the usual Whittingham caliber. Not great for UCLA. All right, maybe the most what the fuck happened here score of the week, Richard, is Cal 39. Cal 39?
Yeah, Cal 39.
Oregon State 24.
If Cal could score 39 every week, they'd probably be undefeated. Funny how
they just played like a well-rounded offensive game. Went through this one in some detail. They ran it on them. They threw it on them. They just looked like a functional and well above average offense, which you don't see a lot of.
USC 41, Arizona 34. Drake London is hurt, likely out for the season. That sucks. USC does not have a functioning offense outside of that. They didn't really have much on offense without him. Arizona's the worst team in Power 5. It is what it is. Cincinnati 31, Tulane 12. Who among us has not had a hangover in New Orleans?
Who among us? We are heading for what I think is going to be an exhausting Cincinnati discourse over the next couple of weeks, and it might really ratchet up this week, depending on where the playoff committee puts them. I think a couple things can be true at once. On the one hand, they're going to be held to a double standard that Oklahoma, for instance, was not held to for almost losing to Kansas. On the other hand, it would be nice to see them stop playing with their food when it's like Navy and Tulane. Both can be true. You know, I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think we're all adults here. People are going to scream and complain this week when the playoff committee comes out, or the playoff committee rankings come out for the first time. I get it, but honestly, Cincinnati's 13-0-ishness is not unimpeachable. They have SMU and Houston to deal with.
Yep,
those are things that are going to need to be dealt with. Houston's probably not going to lose coming home. They will probably meet them in the AAC championship game. ECU 29, USF 14. ECU, your Pirates.
That's 4 wins, I think. 4 wins for ECU this year. I would like ECU to be a good program in the G5 because I think they have a unique place in that league. Very good fan base that's very committed and has deserved better than they've gotten. And USF ain't great, but bowl eligibility is not out of the realm of possibility for ECU. Navy 20, Tulsa 17. Richard, I put this one on here to ask you if Phil Montgomery, everything good there?
I mean, he was on the hot seat before they pulled the rabbit out of the hat in 2020, so we may be squarely back on that this year. We'll see. Louisiana 45, Texas State 0. The Jake Spavital experience is... That's
man. Yeah, they made he took a big swing with the transfers, and it ain't working. They are 2-6 and not a very pretty 2-6.
Georgia State 21, Georgia Southern 14. Georgia State gets the acronym this year. Coastal 35, Troy 28. Upon further review, Coastal. We love Coastal, but hadn't really played many teams with a pulse. Have played a couple last week. Results different.
Yeah, I think in retrospect, they are not as good as they were during the stretch of the season during which the best team they played by far was Buffalo. This happens. This is a thing that happens. Fresno State 30. San Diego State, i.e. G5 Iowa 20. San Diego State method acting, committing to being everything that Iowa is but in the G5.
I think they had 3 turnovers in this game. Can't happen. Both San Diego State and Iowa had insane turnover regression to the mean. Just incredible. Boise State 28, Colorado State 19.
Wait. No. We are hurrying up, but
you're not
getting away without updating people.
All the punts were inside the 50.
Our man showed his skills. He did not have any chance, as you have it in our notes, to bring out the boomstick here. But he did punt 6 times and put 5 of them inside the 20. Still a king, Matt Araiza, the future Ray Guy Award winner. I think we could give it to him right now. Get rid of the drama.
Rename the award for him. Boise State 28, Colorado State 19. Boise State was like headed in sixth gear for a loss here and pulled it out at the end.
Yeah, Hank Bachmeier had a couple of big TD passes late here, including a 51-yarder to Tyneil Hopper that was really, really pretty deep down the left side. Nonetheless, like, they were on the razor's edge here to be in 3-5 with a loss to Steve Adazio. I think we might want to send a team to check out what's happening there on the ground, because I don't think it's a good situation.
I hope not.
Utah State 51, Hawaii 31. Utah State scored 51 points. Stephen Godfrey, if you're listening to the show, congratulations on your Aggies really pulling through.
Nevada 51, UNLV 20. It's bad in Las Vegas. It's still bad.
Is he going to get Chad Morris?
Dude, I don't know. They're 0-4. He's 0-14. Mark Soroyo is. It doesn't really look like it's getting much better anytime soon.
There's a couple chances the next couple weeks with New Mexico and Hawaii, and if it doesn't happen then, I think elsewhere it's like San Diego State and Air Force on the schedule. It's not going to happen there. It's tough. We knew it was a big rebuilding job, but if you go 0-18, I'm not sure what else there is to really say or do.
FAU 28, UTEP 25. God love them, the Miners. Couldn't get it done here. There goes the timer. Couldn't get it done here, but we do still respect the Miners. North Texas 30, Rice 24.
Man,
North Texas won.
They did win. Almost a huge disaster. They took some bad penalties, let Rice back into this game before winning in overtime. Had they lost this game, I was preparing a bit about how podcasting is kind of hard to keep current because you can't just easily update the episode, and how we might just have to tell listeners that Seth Luttrell might be fired by the time you listen to this. I still expect that he is not long for that job, but now I think we have to wonder a bit about Mike Bloomgren at Rice as well. I'd be curious to talk with Steven about that in the midweek.
Western Kentucky 45, Charlotte 13. Western Kentucky played defense, which is...
Yeah, what the hell?
That is different. Bowling Green 56, Buffalo 44.
So
a tapestry.
A lot going on here, and this is a good one to end on for the week, Richard. Prior to 2016, the NCAA instituted a rules change in college football. It said that anyone who gets 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in a given game, including a coach, is ejected from that game. Back in our old SB Nation life, we debated ad nauseum who would be the first coach to get the boot in the middle of a game. We even had a draft, and how long ago it was is kind of reflected in who the draft picks were. Brian Kelly, Butch Jones, Will Muschamp, Jim Mora, Jim Harbaugh, Larry Fedora, Dana Holgerson were the top draft picks, several of them not even head coaches anymore in college football. Nobody got tossed for years until Saturday, when one Scott Loeffler picked up 2 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties against Buffalo and was summarily shown the door with more than a quarter left in this game. Later, he called it, quote, a great learning experience, which I'm not sure what he really learned. Other than that, here's something he learned. That when Scott Loeffler leaves, Bowling Green's offense goes into hyperdrive. They went on a scoring tear, as noted by friend of the show Roger Sherman of The Ringer. Bowling Green scored 28 points on the ensuing 6 drives after Scott Loeffler left this game. They finished at 10.5 yards per play. They scored more points in the 18 minutes after their head coach got tossed than they have scored in any full game in his nearly 2-season tenure leading this program. The last minute of the game included them having a fake kneel run for a 44-yard touchdown. Just wonderful stuff. You cannot make it up. 56-44 Bowling Green.
Yeah, that's tough. That's real tough. No UConn update to end the week. They're on one of their 2 bye weeks stacked up on top of each other. So we will end the show right here, right now. Alex, a wonderful journey through the week as usual.
See ya.
If you're looking for plump lips that last, you need to know about Juvederm lip fillers. With Juvederm Volbella XC and Juvederm Ultra XC, your lip look, whether it's subtle or bold, can last up to 1 full year with optimal treatment and no additional maintenance. Find a licensed specialist and see if it's right for you at Juvederm.com today. That's JUVEDERM.com. Add fullness to lips in adults over 21 with Juvederm Volbella XC or Juvederm Ultra XC. Do not use if you have severe allergies or a history of of severe allergic reactions, or if you are allergic to lidocaine or the proteins used in Juvederm. Tell your doctor if you have a history of scarring or taking medicines that decrease the body's immune response or that can prolong bleeding. Common side effects include injection site redness, swelling, pain, tenderness, firmness, lumps, bumps, bruising, discoloration, or itching. As with all fillers, there's a rare risk of unintentional injection into a blood vessel, which can cause vision abnormalities, blindness, stroke, temporary scabs, or scarring. For full important safety information, visit Juvederm.com.